This race is bigger than a presidential campaign even. It's about a movement, and a movement that's not going anywhere.
If you've paid attention to the 2020 presidential race, you've likely seen Briahna Joy Gray doing battle on behalf of Senator Bernie Sanders.
Some people, I think, are going to be really pleased about the fact that Bernie Sanders unsettled their expectations about what you had to do to get ahead in politics.
Gray was Sanders' pugnacious press secretary, often found on television gleefully defending so-called Bernie bros and arguing that the Democratic Party was out of step with its own voters.
Bernie Sanders is #1 with black voters as well.
You had to show me the receipts on that.
I'll show it to you right now.
When Sanders quit the race in April, he quickly endorsed Joe Biden.
I congratulate Joe Biden, a very decent man, who I will work with.
His press secretary steadfastly refused, drawing a sharp rebuke from Sanders. Gray argues that progressives shouldn't transfer allegiances without a raft of progressive concessions. I spoke with Gray as the convention kicked off about why she isn't lining up behind anyone but Trump Democrats. There are a lot of people out there that are progressives, this new wave of progressivism that say, how can I support these two people?
Donald Trump does present an unprecedented threat to the republic, to innumerable, incredibly vulnerable, discrete populations that live in this country. And if he were to get 4 more years in office, there would be a level of digging that would have to be done to get us out of the mess that he could continue to create that would take generations. At the same time, I think there's not enough attention paid to what the long-term effects of lesser of two evilism really are. So, every single year, we're told that this is the most important election of our lifetime. And it's not untrue. It's not untrue.
Years,
but
yeah.
the question is, why is that the case? Why is it that every single year the Republicans seem to ratchet it to the right? Democrats feel compelled to follow them to the middle. We've lost all semblance of any true left party in this country that is genuinely looking out for the interests of poor, working class people, and in particular labor. Why is that? And what is the backstop against us continuing this rightward slide until the rest of all time? Really, I don't know how to make this point strongly enough. Bernie supporters aren't rooting for Biden to lose. They're rooting for Biden to be the kind of candidate who we believe and have empirical evidence to back up would be more electable and a more ethical, humane president.
Together, we must build a nation that is more equitable, more compassionate, and more inclusive. I know that Joe Biden will begin that fight on day one.
You guys kind of won the long battle here, right? Just go through it this time, and we're going to see that the younger people who are pushing for somebody like Bernie Sanders will probably own the Democratic Party in 4 years. Do you think that's right?
I do have hope around that movement, but I also am not going to be naive about how much the powers that be are going to rally to try to undermine any future candidacy of an AOC for president, for instance. We're not all on the same team when it comes to what we're fighting for, even if we all have a D next to our name.
Does the choice of Kamala Harris create some sort of excitement in your area of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party?
I can't speak for all progressives, but my impression is no. I think that people who are already going to vote for Joe Biden like Kamala Harris. If you are the Democratic Party, and historically you've relied on labor as the base of your support, but you have abandoned that constituency more or less for the last 30 years, what do you have to distinguish yourself from Republicans? If it's not economic issues, if the two of you are working together to cut the post office and to cut Social Security and to cut the social safety debt, Republicans and Democrats alike have been lockstep in this, right?
Sure.
How do you keep your coalition together? By emphasizing the one thing that you have that Republicans don't, which is that you are nice to non-white men. That you like black women and you like immigrants and you like gay people and you're not a bigot and you like women.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, it stops being enough to garner the kind of enthusiasm and support that will enable you to win elections. And identity has become a shorthand for poverty in a way that we all recognize as bad when the right does it. So if you say, you know, they're black, they must be poor, we recognize that as a kind of prejudice. But there is a way that we talk about kind of black and brown people in really general terms when we really mean poor people, including a lot of poor white people, right? So what ends up happening is when you use that kind of a shorthand, you tacitly exclude a lot of people who could be part of your coalition. Meanwhile, we write about Trump and his supporters in a way that casts him as the candidate for white people, basically acknowledging, admitting, giving him credit for working for a bunch of white people who he doesn't actually work for or benefit.
Your home will go down in value and crime rates will rapidly rise. People have worked all their lives to get into a community, and now they're going to watch it go to hell. It's not going to happen, not while I'm here.
What is the future of the Democratic Party? I mean, is it going more in the direction you'd like it to go?
4 years ago, 8 years ago, 80% of Americans didn't support Medicare for all. They do today because people like Bernie Sanders have been advocating for it and putting their political careers and clout on the line to help fight for average Americans. And that ship might have sailed a little bit now that we're looking at this general election context, but it is incumbent on us to keep holding these people's feet to the fire, because the only thing at this point that's going to make them accommodate the interests of an American population who are suffering in a way that they haven't suffered in generations is to not tell them that your vote is guaranteed, holding the democracy hostage right now. But there is no other moment when anyone has any leverage except for now. Voting is leverage. That's it. That's all the average American has. And so I think it would be an abdication of our responsibility as people who care to not ask the bare minimum of Joe Biden.